week? No, not in cotton wool. No, we'll go through. We got a couple of ruck options. Thought Cozzy and Nashi did a pretty strong job last week, and obviously Maxi finally being back and available. But we'll have a look at that later today and do a couple of drills today and see how he pulls up. He hasn't played since round one. Fortunately, he has been able to run and train and get a lot of physical stuff done. But the contact and that side of things hasn't been a big part of his program.
Obviously disappointing to lose Ned Reeves, who was so good last week, but must be excited for Max Lynch. A guy's been waiting for an opportunity his whole AFL career so far.
Yeah, I think there's your career as an AFL player, so often there's just little door openings, and it's about whether you can just jam your foot in there and make it your own. And I mean, we're yet to see whether or not he'll take that opportunity. And certainly with the rucks looking like they'll be a continual issue for us for a while yet. He's going to get an opportunity at some stage, and whether he grabs that with both hands will be what we're working towards with him. I'm still waiting for it to settle down. The basic way we're looking at that is giving him sort of that 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks to say how much it settles down, how stable it is, how much strength he can get back into it, and then reassess from there whether it's something that we think he'll be able to play with and get back out there within a couple of weeks, or whether it's something that we think won't become strong enough and good enough for him to perform at an AFL standard. So still in an assessment mode, really.
We've got the boys and a lot of other AFL players have spoken about their regarding playing the centre this week. Is that something that you've tried to clarify and prepare for this weekend's game?
No. I won't talk about umpires and all that. It's just not necessary, I don't think.
Have you worked your old Hawthorn contacts to figure out if Lance Franklin's playing this week?
No, I haven't yet. Still got a couple of days. Part of me was like, Tassie, a bit chilly down there, but he has kicked 13 at the ground, so will he be trying to get up and play, or will he be trying not to? There's a part of me that hope he doesn't play because he's a very good player, but I wouldn't mind seeing him by the same token. So, we'll have a plan with or without Lance.
Do you feel you're in a good position to plan for how to shut him down, given you know him so well?
Well, knowing how to shut him down and getting it done are two very different things. I mean, he's been brilliant for Hawthorn. He's been brilliant for Sydney. He's been brilliant for the game as a whole. And I think the Tassie fans would love to see him. I think the game is a sellout at the moment already. So I think they'd be even more excited knowing that Lance Franklin's playing. But by the same token, it makes preparation a little bit easier if he's not.
The grappling that we saw last week and the tackling and getting the boys up for Easter Monday, from the outside it seemed like a bit of a tactic to such a big occasion Easter Monday. How do you replicate that with the boys?
I'm not really much one for replicating. I think when you're looking backwards and trying to do what you did last week, we weren't doing that last week, so you're already doing something different. We did a little bit of physical training again a couple of days ago. Today will mostly be sort of more match play and some just more general training stuff. But we do focus our individual sessions. We might have one combat session and then one skill-based session, training like that. So no, we're not looking to replicate. We're looking to make progress. We're looking to improve each week. And we saw some good things in the game last week. But I did mention to the players, if you're feeling really good about your Easter Monday win, we kicked 3 goals before they'd had a possession. So basically we lost the rest of the game. So that was the way that I put our feet back on the ground, because although we won the game and it was a great win, and to beat a really quality side like them makes you feel good, if you go from the 3-minute mark to the rest of the game, they actually outscored us. So it's not like we were the dominant team on the day. They didn't take their opportunities, and we took a few more of ours, so we've still got work to do.
So how do you find that balance between kind of riding that wave of momentum of being on a high after a good win and levelling it down? Come on, there's still work to be done. Sort of.
Yeah, it's quite counterintuitive as a coach. Every time we lose, we have a really bad loss against the Saints the week before, and we're talking to the players about, hey, this is part of our journey, it's our progress, this is why we perform like that, this is why we're still in good shape. And then when we have a good win, it's the opposite. It's saying, okay, yes, it was a good win, but we've still got all these things to work on, still got progress to make. And quite a lot of coaching and playing at a high level consistently week after week after week is around fighting off human nature. The human nature is, I just want to feel good all week, or I want to be grumpy all week. And unfortunately, we know that doesn't lead to consistent, strong performance.
At 4-1, reassess the ceiling of this season and where it can lead?
Well, we're not 4-1, so we're 3-2.
3-2.
Yep, 3-2. No, I mean we don't really look that far ahead. We haven't set, we're going to try to win this many games, or we're going to play in this way. I think we're on a longer journey. We recognise that we're in the competition to win premierships, and are we a premiership team contender right this minute? We don't feel like we are yet, but we feel like we know the journey that's going to be and how to make progress in that direction. How quickly we get there, we're not putting any sort of limit on that. So we will go as quickly as we can towards what we would consider premiership standards. And there's some aspects of our game that we see at different stages that are at what I would call premiership standard, but too much of our game at the moment is inconsistent or not to the level.
Sam, you've spoken a lot about the players playing selfish roles this year. And look at a guy like Jager O'Meara. Can you educate us a bit on what you're trying to get out of him playing him more outside the centre bounce this year, and why that's more beneficial than the 28-year-old him in his prime, I guess, playing full-time role in the middle?
Well, it might not be better for him specifically, but for the group, I mean, on the weekend, I think we had reasonably even balance of centre bounces between Newcomb, who ends up winning Rising Star. I think Josh Ward will have one of those coming if he continues to play strong, consistent football. You got Tom Mitchell, James Warple came in as the sub and was in significant amount of centre bounces, and then Jager, and you got Connor Nash in there as well as a midfielder as well as a ruckman as the game evolves. So we sort of have 5 or 6 players going through the centre bounces now. The easy thing to do would be just to put Jager in there for every one of them, but that every one he's in, it means that someone else is out. So really what we're trying to do is get high level of production from the midfield. And by doing that, it means no one of them will be a big shining light at the moment. At some point that might happen, but what we're looking for is strong team performance. And Jager's I thought he had some really key moments in the game, kicked a pivotal goal, had a couple of really pivotal one-on-one contests where were really difficult situations that he was able to play well and perform well in. So I thought he led outstandingly well last week, despite not having a big game on the stat sheet.
Is that joint secret as a coach person that will also put players to be playoffs, not just
Yeah, it's we've been talking about the Anzac Day and how much it means to how many people. We've got a couple of staff, who have been part of the wartime and the Defence Force and working with those and getting some stories and some understanding and having our players. Part of what we try to do is help our players with education. We don't tell them what to think, but we just let them know some of the stories that have happened, some of the things that have happened, and having a quiet moment to think about what's happened in the past that gives us the lifestyle we have now has been pretty significant for us, and I think it's really good for Tassie to have a game on Anzac Day as well.
Can I just follow up again on Jager? Just with that, trying to get a wider spread, I understand you said that with Tom the other week when I asked about too. Is it sort of looking more to the future though? Is it not so much being win now mode? Is that why? Because I guess naturally you'd think Jager playing more than a Josh Ward at this stage in the midfield would be more beneficial to him.
I think every coach in the competition balances up development and performance, and we're in a phase where you can lean on both of those things. Certainly, if I was going to win one centre bounce to put my house on it, and it was you probably have Jager in there, but that doesn't mean that we'd never want a Josh Ward who's still playing his craft and he's still learning the game. So in every decision as a coach, you're balancing up performance and development, and we feel like we get a good balance of those. I think Jager and Tom are still playing strong roles while we're getting Newcomb and Ward and Warple and these guys strong development as well, and that's the balancing act for every team. Even a team who's right at the top of their game will be continuing to try to develop their next wave.
Backtrack me here again. Ned and Jackson on the extended interchange. Have we a chance to see one of the boys debut on Anzac Day?
Yeah, we haven't had our selection just yet. It's obviously not until Monday. So we got main training today. The boys will have a run around, and it was quite difficult. We had to have the team in. That's the equivalent of a Monday for a Friday game. So we actually hadn't done a lot of the selection. So it was quite difficult to do an extended bench this week because there's some guys who would still be in consideration that weren't in the extended bench. I'm sure Sydney are in the same boat. So we'll have selection later today.